Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing. And I've got a pretty interesting one today, and one that's definitely a little bit more on the old school side. So I'm really looking forward to how it is actually going to perform. As you might be able to tell, we're out here trying to dance around some rain and get a video filmed for y'all today. So we may have to run through this one quick, but as for the shell we're going to be testing out today, I dug through the cabinet and found some of these. These are some of the little bit older school Remington Premier Copper Solid rounds. These are the 12 gauge, 3 inch, 1 ounce, 1550 feet per second shells. And if you've never seen one of these before, that is what that Sabot round inside of there looks like. It is a pretty nasty looking copper projectile. And I can say from taking a deer with these a number of years ago, that absolutely expands to a ridiculous looking projectile there for sure. But with that being said, the last time I used those was a number of years ago, and it was through a different shotgun. It was through a Mossberg with a fully rifled barrel. So I've got a new gun as of recent, and I think we've only tested it one time on the channel, so I figured I'd bring it out here and see what it might be able to do with these. So that setup is this guy. This is a Remington 870 Magnum special purpose. It's got the 18.5 inch fully rifled barrel on it. And I did swap over to this Leupold VX1 scope on here. That is technically a rimfire scope, but when it comes to Leupold, all their scopes are built with the same internals. So all the rimfire actually designates is the parallax setting, which I think is 60 or 70 yards. But that is perfectly fine for us all the way out to 100. Everything is still nice and clear. And we're not going to be shooting long range with this anyway, so we should be good to go with that just fine. But speaking of the testing we're going to do today, I only have one box of those slugs, which is 5 to a box. So we're going to do one group at 100 yards. That's 5 shots. I don't usually do it this way, but I wanted to test these anyway and figured I'd give as many shots as I could to potentially see what these might be able to do. So, as per usual, I do have the chronograph out here as well. The box called for 1550, so we'll see how close we can actually get to that box posted velocity. So let's take you guys down to 100 yards and get you a view of the target. I'll come back up here and I'll shoot our 5 rounds and see what kind of accuracy we can get. Alright, so now we're back at our chronograph and let's take a look at what we got. So remember, the box called for 1550 and I definitely think we saw that. So for a high we had 1604, for a low we had 1532, and for an average that gave us 1571. So with the box calling for 1550 and us having an 18.5 inch barrel, that is definitely right on the money, I would say, for what they tested it through. So that's definitely a good thing that we saw at least what the box called for, because typically we don't see that, especially out of a lot of the big name ammo companies like Remington. They'll throw a number on the box and test it through some ridiculously long barrel to get the best possible results. But let's take a look at our accuracy now and pull out my digital calipers and see what our actual accuracy is and how this group did. Alright, so now we're looking at our group here, and I do apologize, the lighting is a little funny with it being overcast and stuff out here today. But this is our group, and this is the kind of performance we got. Now, that very first shot that's all the way on the left over there, that could have been me pulling it, but I felt pretty decent about the trigger squeeze, but that was definitely our cold bore shot, and it clearly threw it a little bit farther left than the rest of our group. But I do have my digital caliper, so let's measure this and see what we actually got. Okay, so if you want to include that far left shot in the group, that would give us a 5.72 inch group there. But clearly, this first shot over here is way off. And like I said, it could have been me, it could have just been the cold bore shot, I don't know. But I want to measure this part of the group to see what this actually did, because it's definitely much better than this entire group. So that way we have both numbers and you guys can choose which number you want to actually believe, whether the entire group or just this one. So let's measure this part of the group and see how that performed. Okay, so that part of the group gave us a 2.92 inch group. So pretty much call it a 3-inch group there, which is definitely much better. It's not as good as what I was hoping for, and it's definitely not as good as the last time I shot it through that old Mossberg that my dad has, but it's plenty good enough to take a deer with. So whether or not you want to believe and include this shot, that's up to you guys. Either way, this kind of average part of the group, I guess you could call it, is relatively decent anyway. It's not anything super impressive by any means, but it will do the job in a hunting scenario. And for those of you interested here, I did find a few of these Sabots. They flew about 30 to 40 yards downrange. Somewhere in there is about the average. So definitely you can see the rifling on the little pedals of this Sabot here. So we definitely had a good rifle engagement. There's nothing stuck down in there. Obviously the projectile actually flew down range like it was supposed to. It definitely worked to stabilize that bullet for sure. So nothing really too special to see here, but this is what those Sabots actually do look like after they exit the shell. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about the kind of performance we got today and that gun with those shells? I was hoping to see a little bit better, and I know those particular shells can shoot better than that. Like I said a second ago, my dad's Mossberg 500 with a rifled barrel will absolutely just about nail in the same hole every time with those. So that setup really does like those. This one, it's definitely not terrible, but it's not as good as what it could potentially be anyway. But at the end of the day, it's good enough to take out into the deer woods, I would say. Now, past 100 yards, I don't know that I'd really push it past there personally, but definitely inside of 100, you're good to go with this. But what do you guys think, and what has been your experience with these Premier Copper Solids, if you've ever used any? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about it, and where you think we should go from here, and what else we should try as far as shells go. I definitely have a few other ones in mind that I'm just looking for the right price on them, and that way I can pick them up and test them. So we definitely have more coming with that shotgun for sure. But either way, let me know your thoughts about everything in the comments. Stay tuned because we've got plenty more coming, especially with deer season coming up soon. So with that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one.